Hello and welcome back to the Dream Printing Podcast. I'm your host, Polly Payne. I am the CEO and founder of Horacio Printing and the creator of Print School. And today I want to give you a sneak peek in the creation of my 2026 Dream Planner collection. So exciting. So I've actually been in business now in the paper product business world for over 10 years. I started Horacio back in 2014. And so this is like my 11th, maybe 12th collection. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Oh my gosh, it's actually my 12th collection. So fun. And so at this point, I know what I'm doing with launching these things. And so I'm going to share a little bit about some tips that might help you if you're launching or wanting to launch a planner, and just kind of my process. It's definitely different launching your 12th collection versus launching your first collection. I created a program called Print School to help people when they are in the process of creating their first collection or their second, for planners, devotionals, journals, all that kind of stuff. But this is what it looks like when you're a few years in and how that all kind of comes together. So let's dive in. All right, let's get started. Okay, so my timeline with getting started with my 2026 collection. Some years I do it really early. I know back in 2021, I was pregnant with my son, who's 3 now. And so I actually got done with all of my next year's collection before the year even started, meaning I had already designed my 2023 planner and it wasn't even 2022 yet. So I've definitely done it way early before, just because I didn't want to worry about editing a planner when I was in the throes of nursing and postpartum and all that kind of stuff. But for this year, I got started in January. That's typically when I get started. So I start a whole year in advance. Now, if you're watching this and asking yourself, do I have time still to make a 2026 planner? The answer is maybe, maybe not. I tend to be the bearer of bad news when it comes to creating a luxury paper product. And the truth is, good things take time, period. Good things take time. And when you go through a traditional printing process and you work with printers who create high-end luxury paper products with the gold corners, with the tabs, with the luxury paper, with the details and the packaging and all the things, because I'm a paper snob, so that's the kind of planner I want. I want something beautiful and sturdy and well-designed, well-built, high quality. You have to start early because printing takes a while, shipping takes a while, and then of course you've got to design it and ideate it. So I actually teach I have a workshop for you if you're like, okay, I really need to figure out my timeline. Like, is this possible for me? How long does it take? And maybe you're watching this and you already have your design halfway done, or you already are fully designed and you just need the printer. Go watch my workshop. It's horacioprinting.com/workshop. I'll put a link right here. And it's about 45 minutes. It's free. And it takes you through cost, timeline, and also 3 big mistakes you don't want to make, like spending way too much money on your product, or ways that you can not spend your money at all on your paper products. So tons of great content there. Check out my workshop. But I typically get started early. So in January, that's when I was dusting off the cobwebs of my templates and getting my plan together. We have a project board that we work from to work backwards. And so January is kind of like okay, let's get ready for this. Get ready for this. Da-na-na-na-na. Okay, sorry. I had too much coffee today. And then the next thing I do is work with my designer, bring them on board in terms of just, hey, what's your capacity right now? And ask them for their quote to refresh the templates. Now, the really beautiful thing about printing a planner or a paper product your second, third, fourth, fifth year is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You already have your template from last year. And if you love it, you're not really changing much about it. The only thing you have to do the next year is update the dates and the holidays and some of the copy inside. And so it doesn't cost as much money to pay the designer or even take as much time because you're not starting from scratch. But that is something you have to do at the beginning. You do have to put in the work that first year to build the template, to really get your idea out of your head and onto paper so that it can be designed. And so that's what I teach in print school because that is a fun, beautiful, timely process. So we got the templates out. I went ahead and hired my designer and said, listen, I'm going to work on cover art. I'm going to work on the copy for our seasonal prayers in the planner. And you go ahead and update the dates and like all the other basic stuff. So she got started. And then on my end, I started dreaming, which this is probably my favorite part of the year is when I start dreaming about what do I want the next collection to look like. I also take time to write, and I wrote out just my dream of what my word for the next year is, which if you want to know, I'll tell you. And I tend to find writing, I like to go off and write for the next year. I usually pick my word of the year a whole year in advance. My word for 2025, I'm sorry, my 2026 word is stuck in my head. So I'm like, what was my word? Oh yeah, the audacity of hope was my word for 2025. But at the beginning of the year, the word kind of swapped personally, and my word has been shedding. I don't know if any of you guys have felt like this is just the season of getting rid of anything that's not serving you, just like ruthlessly decluttering my life and like my mind and what I'm worried about and just all that kind of stuff. So that's been the word for this year, but I picked my word for next year, and I'll go ahead and tell you, surprise, surprise. My word is to lean in. It's to lean in, and not in the Sheryl Sandberg way at the corporate office, but leaning into what God has called you to, leaning into your blessings, leaning into your responsibility, leaning into your purpose, leaning into the voice of God, leaning into his presence. Like, what do you need to lean into? And just being really intentional about leaning in and not being just running through the motions of life, distracted, but instead leaning in. So anyways, I had that little epiphany, started writing out some content for the next planner, and started designing cover art. And so went through a bunch of different iterations of cover art and did my next, also in dreaming, one of the things we dreamed up was a new planner layout. Typically we have two layouts. I'll put them here. We have a horizontal layout in our planner and a vertical option. So we've been offering these two for the last, 8 years. The vertical option we've always had. This is like our standard classic, but we're going to be offering a third option this year. I'm so excited. So started dreaming about that. But before I decided if I was going to offer a third layout, and before I decide what cover art to do, I do this really critical step. And if you are in business, whether it's your first year or your 10th year, you should be doing this too. And that is, I survey my customers. I ask them what they want, what they like. Because at the end of the day, if I buy a whole bunch of stuff that only I like, guess what? I'm the only one buying it. And my job as a brand owner, as a business owner, as a product-based business is to create things people love and to listen to your customers and to have a relationship. And relationships have to go both ways. I can't just be, hey, buy this. This is what it is. Buy my thing. I made my thing. I have to listen to my person. I have to listen to them and hear them and tweak my products. And so we put out a survey back in February, beginning of February, to get everyone to vote on their favorite cover art, their favorite interior layout. Do they want the new layout or not? And also ask them if they bought last year's planner and what they thought of it. Was there anything wrong with it? Would you like that style again, etc.? And we asked them about new products we've been dreaming up. Do you want any of these new products? And so we got those results back and we analyzed them. We read through them. We, really listen. We want to listen to our customer. And then from there, we make the big decision. So I use data to make my decisions based off the survey and then also based off of last year's sales data, what actually sold. And I tend to, in my survey, let me just move my microphone really quick. I tend to, in my survey, listen to people who bought the planner last year over people who've never bought my planner. Because sometimes people will take the survey and they're not my ideal customer. And so it is important when you survey people, are they your customer? For example, if you're coming out with a journal for homeschool moms, okay, let's say that's your thing. You're coming out with this journal for homeschool moms, and you're like, okay, I really need to know what kind of style they like. And you have a couple options and you're not sure and you get stuck. That's a great time to do a survey. But let's say you put that survey out in the world and your Uncle Jim Bob fills out the survey because he's kind and he's supporting his niece and, yeah, baby, I'll fill out the form. That's great. We love that Uncle Jim Bob did that. Thank you. But you're going to need to take his information out. His data doesn't count. So one of the ways you can do that is you can say in the survey, like, are you a homeschool mom? Like, qualify them in your survey, because if you have people taking this survey who would never buy your product anyway, who are super frugal and don't spend money and don't shop, you don't want to take advice from them. If you have people in your survey that would never pay over $5 for a journal, who only shop in the bargain bins at whatever store, Marshall's or something, like they're not the person you want in your data set. Does that make sense? Anyways, I talk about this to my students quite a bit, because you don't want to just listen to the people in your life, because they might not be, you have to just vet out the voices that you're listening to when it comes to making your product, because there will be naysayers in your ear, in your life, maybe that you're related to, that you don't need to listen to because they weren't going to buy your product anyway, and they certainly weren't going to use it. And that's okay. Like, you just have to, that's a part of this journey that you just kind of have to thicken your skin and be prepared for. And I'm your friend here to prepare you now. Be prepared for that. There might be some naysayers in your life, and like, that's okay. That's their prerogative. And they're probably just trying to protect you because you're disrupting their comfort zone by stepping out of your comfort zone. So step out of your comfort zone. I'm proud of you. Okay, so survey results. Kind of went on a tangent there, but I hope it helped you. After I have those results and I know what I want to buy, that's when I start to get my quotes. So that's what I've been doing throughout the month of February and March, is getting quotes, analyzing those quotes. I have multiple printers that I like to work with, and I'm always testing out new printers as well, so I can provide those contacts to my students, but only after I've purchased from those printers. And so that is a big perk of Print School, is you get my list of printers. You only get my list of printers if you are a Print School student. So unfortunately, if you comment below this video and say, who's your printer, I will not tell you, largely because it's not just the right printer that you need. You need to know how to talk to them. You need to know how to import your products properly. You need to understand the language of print. And so that's what Print School helps you do, because you could have the right printer and get the wrong product because you didn't know what you were saying. Because there's a lot of things you don't know what you don't know when it comes to manufacturing, especially overseas. So after I have my quote, I order my sample. Dun, 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 which we've just done. Our samples are currently baking in the oven. I cannot wait to see them. I'm so excited. And that is something I say here on the podcast a lot. Always order a sample. Always order a sample. Always order a sample. You never want to skip that step, even if you're on a tight deadline. Always order a sample. So we have ordered that sample. And the big thing that we're working on now is planning our photo shoot. So at this point in the stage, we are planning our photo shoot for likely in June. And we're doing a mega photo shoot this year. We're going to be shooting really professional, beautiful content for the planner collection. And then also we're going to go and for launch day, which is typically the 1st of October. I think this year we're doing it September 30th, but we're going to be also shooting Christmas and New Year's and just knocking out so much amazing content in one go. I'm a huge fan of batching because I don't want to show up every single day and try to make content on the fly. That's the quickest way you can burn out. And so not a fan of that. I want to be really strategic with my photo shoots and all of that. And we have bonus inside of Print School. If you sign up for Print School, you actually get this other program called Launch School for free. And that teaches you how to set up your website, how to launch your product, how to do a Kickstarter campaign, how to do photo shoots, how to do video, how to prepare for a successful launch. And so I'm really excited. I'll be using my own resources that I've made for my students to prepare for that photo shoot. But that's what's happening now. While the samples are printing, because we got a little behind this year by launching another interior layout and that added to our timeline, we actually are still finalizing all the final edits. And so actually, by the time this airs, we'll be done. But one of my favorite steps is to get all of my planners printed out locally with a local printer. Here in Chattanooga, I use Aladdin Printing. But in the years past, I've used like Staples or whatever. When I lived in New York, I used this really great local shop. I think they were called Easy Print. And I loved them so much, up on like 83rd and 2nd. But I get my whole thing printed out and I can test it. And I'm so excited. Here's a little sneak peek. Can you guys see something special on these pages? Dun, dun, dun. I'm so pumped. So I have 3 planners to edit, and I sent these out to multiple editors. So we've been compiling all the edits to make sure everything is perfect. So that's what we're doing right now. It's really important that you always test out your planners. I tend to tell students to make sure the printer cuts it down to size so you can really see it, the size it's going to be. That didn't happen for me. These printed out 8.5 by 11. My planner isn't actually this big, but it still works great for printing and editing. Although if you get your planner printed locally, make sure they cut it down to size. So if your product is 7 by 9 or 6 by 8 or whatever size it is, have them cut it down to size. They can do that. They're capable. And that way you can really see the font size and everything. That's a huge step in your process. You want to make sure you're testing and you love it. So anyways, that's what's happening over here. I'm so excited. We're just beginning more of our launch prep, and I'm going to be placing our mass order as soon as the samples arrive and we give it the green light. We'll be putting our deposit down for our 2026 collection, and we have more products launching this summer. Super exciting. We're going to be restocking our vision board kit, which sold out. That's been a really fun product on our shop. And we have a special product coming out in this summer as well. So that's behind the scenes. If you also have a dream to create a paper product business, again, check out my workshop, horacioprinting.com/workshop. Or you can go ahead and jump to step 2 and apply to join Print School. Grab a spot in Print School. You can learn more at horacioprinting.com/Print School. I would love to see your application come through my desk and have a conversation with you. If you have questions, you can ask them on the application. And yeah, let us know if you have any needs. I would love to help be your paper product doula and kind of just support you getting that idea off the back burner and into your hands this year. Let's make it happen. I hope you have a wonderful day. You are so loved. Bye, guys.